Throughout history, many have claimed to see the impossible. Strange beings in the woods, monsters that lurk in the deepest part of the sea, and things we believe to only be in the movies. However, many have come out and said that they have seen these monsters close to home. Whether you believe them or not, that's up to you. But tonight I'm going to take you through personal favorites of mine. This is 5 claimed real werewolf sightings. Cannock Chase is a large area of woodland and heath in Staffordshire, UK. It's long had an eerie reputation. Dense undergrowth, old mine shafts, cemeteries, and local legends that refuse to die. According to a supernatural survey called the Fringe Weird Report, compiled by paranormal researcher Lionel Fenthorpe, there have been about 20 reported werewolf sightings in the Cannock Chase area. In 1975, a paranormal group ventured into Cannock Chase. Several members claimed they saw a snarling beast that reared up on its hind legs and then bolted into the bushes. Decades later, April 2007, the Stafford Post ran a story. The West Midlands Ghost Club was called to investigate reports of a werewolf-typed creature prowling around the chase. A local scoutmaster and a postman claimed first-hand encounters. At first, they thought they were seeing a large dog, but then it supposedly stood upright, reaching nearly 7 feet tall before vanishing into the undergrowth. One of the locales mentioned was the German war cemetery on Camp Rhoda site, already steeped in somber atmosphere. These stories caught local attention and fear. Of course, extraordinary claims deserve scrutiny. A paranormal expert, unnamed in the report, suggested that these creatures might be Stone Age throwbacks living in the old mines beneath Cannock Chase. They might occasionally emerge via old earthworks to hunt local deer. There is also evidence that original press reports exaggerated or misrepresented events. In the article, a West Midlands Ghost Club spokesperson claims that only one individual had contacted them originally, but media reports inflated the number of sightings. When dealing with reports of the paranormal, especially things like werewolves, we need to ask tough questions. How reliable are eyewitnesses at night in low light, in wooded terrain? Fear, expectation, and suggestion all distort memory. Are there recording or physical evidence? In this case, the BBC article references only eyewitness accounts, no photos, film, DNA, or remains. Could hoaxes or storytelling culture play a role? In tight-knit rural areas, stories spread fast and get amplified. One commenter claimed that Cannock Chase is home to strange creatures, not just werewolves, but mysterious black shapes seen darting between trees. They described an experience while walking their dog near Birches Valley, where they saw something tall, dark, and animal-like watching from the woods before disappearing. Another reader suggested the sightings might be caused by muntjac deer, small deer introduced to Britain that can bark, have fangs, and even appear dog-like in poor light. According to this theory, frightened witnesses could easily mistake a startled deer for something monstrous. So what do we make of the werewolf sightings in Cannock Chase? There is no smoking gun, no definitive proof, but there is a pattern of consistent reports. A landscape ripe for eerie misinterpretation and a tradition of folklore and fear. Could the Cannock Chase werewolf be an unknown creature or even a relic species? Or is it better explained by hoaxes, misidentification, and folklore? Would you dare to go and explore? Far from Staffordshire in the rolling countryside of Wisconsin, there's a legend that rivals any werewolf tale, the Beast of Bray Road, and its stories are just as chilling. It all began in 1936 in Elkhorn, Wisconsin. A night watchman named Mark Coleman was patrolling near the St. Coletta School. What he saw was something half wolf, half bear, standing between 6 and 7 feet tall, covered in dark or black hair. He saw it perched on an old burial mound, clawing at the ground. Then it turned to him, emitting a foul stench like rotting meat, and made a strange 3-syllable growl, something like Godada. After that terrifying encounter, he saw it again at dusk. The smell lingered, and so did the fear. Fast forward to 1989. Lori Andrizzi was driving late at night on Bray Road. She saw a massive creature kneeling off to the side of the road. When she glanced back, it turned and stared directly at her. Claws, a silhouette. Something unmistakably not a normal animal. In 1991, on a foggy Halloween night, Doris Gibson drove along and thought she'd hit something. The creature ran out of the woods behind her car. It leapt onto the trunk of her vehicle, then slid off. Later, she discovered claw marks on the car. She felt that had she not driven off, she might have been its next victim. Some believe the beast might be a physical animal or several different animals they escaped or unknown. Others think supernatural interpretations might better fit the weirdness of what people describe. Investigator Linda Godfrey has suggested that many of the reports could come from misidentification, hoaxes, or the power of folklore. But even she admits there might be something behind at least some sightings. Since the 1990s, sightings have dropped off, but the legend remains strong. Bray Road has become a staple of American folklore, a story people tell when they think about what lurks in the dark. And even though some dismiss the story entirely, many locals say the fear still lingers, the idea that something unknown might walk among the brush. Unseen by most, but seen by enough to spark stories. The Beast of Bray Road raises a question. When people report seeing something that doesn't fit with what we know, do they invent something to explain it, or do they recognize something we don't yet understand? Next, we journey back to the UK, Langrick Fen in Lincolnshire, near the tiny settlement of Dogdyke. This is the chilling tale of the Werewolf of Dogdyke, a local legend first recorded in 1926, but said to stretch from older folk memories. The story begins with a young man, an amateur archaeologist working in the peat bog. While digging, he comes upon a skeleton that shocks him. It looks human, but with the skull of a wolf. Intrigued, he carries the odd remains into his cottage and places them on a table for closer inspection. At first, he believes it might be a hoax, perhaps something brought in by travelers or showmen to frighten people or earn curiosity money. That night, things take a darker turn. The man is unable to sleep. He starts hearing noises from the back of his cottage, scratching, mysterious pad footsteps, and then a rat-tat on the window pane. He looks out and sees a figure, part human, part wolf, distinct and terrifying. It snarls, raises its arm to break the glass. Frozen with fear, the man scrambles away and locks himself inside. He barricades the door with furniture, listening all night as the creature prowls around outside. As dawn breaks, the creature vanishes. No trace of it remains, except the overturned table, the shattered window, and the skeleton, or what remains of it, strewn about the floor. Terrified, the man buries the remains back in the peat, covering them with layers of earth and moss, hoping whatever connection was awakened will stay buried for good. Legends like this tend to persist because they're eerily specific. A single witness, strange, dramatic occurrences, and unexplainable physical evidence, broken glass, overturned furniture, give them weight. But Some folklorists believe that this story might originated with Christopher Marlowe's writings, The Fen Country, 1926. Whether or not there was a true event, the tale has since woven itself into local tradition. The Werewolf of Dogdyke may not have left us a corpse or a photograph, but it did leave a story that still haunts the fens. Whether it's a cautionary myth, an embellished memory, or something we simply can't explain, it reminds us how closely folklore and fear can intertwine. What do you think? Could this have been a real encounter or just a ghost story born from peat and moonlight? East Yorkshire, 2016. On the outskirts of Hull, an old port city surrounded by marshland and the chalk hills of the Wolds, locals begin to whisper about something stalking the area. They call it Old Stinker, the Hull werewolf. The name itself comes from old folklore. A wolf-like monster said to roam the Yorkshire Wolds centuries ago, so vile it was known for its stench of death. But in modern times, it's not just a story. Reports start coming in near the Barmston Drain, a waterway running through Hull. One woman told a local newspaper she saw a creature, half man, half dog, run on two legs across the road, vault a fence easily 8 feet high, then drop down on all fours and vanish into the night. Another couple driving nearby described a tall, hairy creature with glowing red eyes that darted into the shadows. They said it looked part human, part wolf. Police were contacted, though no evidence was ever found. But soon, more locals claimed to have seen something strange along the drains and fields, especially on misty nights. Witnesses described the same few traits again and again. A tall, upright figure, 6 to 7 feet high, long limbs, powerful shoulders, and matted gray-brown fur, an awful smell like rotting meat, red or orange glowing eyes that caught the light in the dark. Some said it seemed to follow them, almost watching from a distance. Others believed it was attracted to the waterways and livestock in the surrounding farmland. Word spread fast. By late 2016, Hull's local papers were flooded with werewolf stories. Residents organized werewolf hunts along the drains, armed with torches and cameras. Local councillors even commented publicly, asking people not to panic but to stay vigilant and, yes, to report anything suspicious. Dr. Sam George from the University of Hertfordshire later studied the phenomenon in her paper, Wolves in the Wolds. She noted how the legend of Old Stinker seemed to come alive again just as the region faced social and environmental change, a mix of decaying industry, rewilding debates, and folklore resurfacing in modern times. But Old Stinker isn't new. The story dates back to older Yorkshire legends, stories of wolf-headed men said to haunt burial mounds and moors long after real wolves vanished from England in the 5th, 10th century. Historians trace the earliest versions to East Riding folklore, where a monstrous wolf was said to devour corpses from graveyards and roam at night, the original Old Stinker. To this day, no one's proved what people saw along the Barmston Drain. Maybe it was a misidentified dog, a prank, or a trick of the light, or maybe, as some locals say, Old Stinker never left. Whether it's an urban myth or a genuine encounter, the Hull werewolf reminds us that even in the age of smartphones and CCTV, ancient fears can still walk beside us in the dark. In the dense woods of northern Michigan, there's a legend that blurs the line between beast, folklore, and fear. They call it the Michigan Dogmen, part canine, part human, said to stalk the forests and haunt the imaginations of locals. The legend begins in 1887. During Michigan's lumbering boom, a time when forests were being cut, cabins were remote, and isolation was real. In Wexford County, lumberjacks reported seeing something with a man's body and a dog's head, with piercing yellow or blue eyes and a howl that froze them in their tracks. Over the years, more reports followed. Some examples from the article include, in 1917, 4 horses were found dead, eyes wide open, in an area where folks suspected something unnatural had been around. In 1937, there was a story of supposed wild dogs attacking or acting strangely, one thought to be walking on 2 legs. In 1957, a newspaper claimed claw marks were found on a church's door. Investigators estimated they must have been made by something around 74 tall. In more recent times, a farmer reportedly died of a heart attack at his plow, only for dog-like tracks to be found around him. Another story, an Army veteran claimed to see something matching the dogman's description following alongside his truck at 25 miles per hour. Across many of the sightings, certain details recur. Upright posture, walking on 2 legs, at least part of the time, enormous size, sometimes over 7 feet tall, canine features, head like a dog or a wolf, pointed ears, sharp teeth, piercing eyes, yellow or blue, that seem to reflect light in eerie ways, wild behavior or strange sounds, howls, growls, things that sound unnatural. Skeptics point out several things. There's a lack of physical evidence, no verified remains, no clear photos, no DNA. Many sightings are anecdotal, often in remote areas under poor visibility. It's easy for imagination, misidentification, for example, dogs, coyotes, wildlife, or even sound alone to lead people to believe something monstrous is there. The rituals of storytelling and media reinforce the legend. Once a story is told, people begin to expect a mysterious creature. That anticipation can influence perception. But despite all that, the Dogman legend has endured. It features in documentaries, folklore, cryptid fan communities, and local lore. Because once a myth is out in the open, it takes on a life of its own. What does all this tell us? The Michigan Dogman legend demonstrates how powerful stories can be. They weave together fear, nature, loneliness, culture, and sometimes a dash of invention. Is there a real creature out there? The evidence so far says probably not in the sense of a monster roaming the woods. But the Dogman is real in another way, as a legend, a collective shadow in the forests of our imagination. So what do you think? Are these werewolf sightings proof of something supernatural? Or just stories born in the dark corners of our imagination? From Cannock Chase to Hull, from Dogdyke to Michigan, the legends refuse to die. Maybe we want to believe that something wild still walks among us, hidden in the shadows where myth and reality blur. If you enjoyed tonight's dive into the unknown, hit like, subscribe, and ring the bell because there are plenty more mysteries waiting beneath the full moon. Until next time, keep your eyes on the tree line.